What's up, internet? It's your favorite guy online. It's Hybrid. Today's video is a special one. I'm building a PC for my first client here in the Philippines. And believe me, it's quite a doozy. Before we begin, I encourage you to smash that subscribe button and check out all the socials in the description. And of course, visit us on Twitch every Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday at 7 p.m. Manila time, which is, if you're on the east coast of the US, that's 7 a.m. And if you're in UK or somewhere in Europe, around 12 noon. Now, on to today's video. Woo, boys! Get off me. Starting off our build, we have the AsRock B550 Taichi Razer Edition motherboard. Beautiful RGB Razer Chromum effects, along with many other features that PC enthusiasts would appreciate. Right now we are cracking into the motherboard to introduce the motherboard to our Windows drive, which is the Samsung 980 Pro 250GB NVMe M.2 SSD. As you can see, it's very compact, and with its reputable brand, we're gonna get the fast boot speeds, and we have enough space for drivers and other programs that we would need for the system to run as fast as possible with all of its nice cool features. Next up, we'll be putting in the second M.2 drive, crucial P5 1TB for all the games, apps, and other programs that we'll be putting in for our client. Don't mind me as I try to figure out there's a protective feature on these specific screws for the drive. Figured it out. Now we're putting in the PNY XLR8 Gaming RGB RAM kit, 16GB 8x2 dual channel. Make sure that the system runs as many programs as possible at optimized speeds. Now introducing the Ryzen 7 5700X, one of the most sought out and more high-on-demand CPUs for pure gaming and editing. Covering that up with the Z10 DeepCool thermal paste. Looks pretty brand new to me. During this building process, we decided to install Windows ahead of time, so I let my queen apply the thermal paste the first time around, installing a stock cooler before we actually continue finishing the build. You can see that I draw a dot on a piece of paper, kind of help give a context and understanding to Lian on how to apply thermal paste using the P-drop or teardrop method. You can tell that she's a little nervous. But with continued discipline and commitment, we can see that she is now applying the thermal paste. And success. Great. Now with that out of the way, we're going to install the graphics card. Introducing the PNY RTX Accelerate Gaming 3070 Ti. One chunky of a card. I just got rated and subbed by a couple of friends here on stream, but that's not stopping us from building this PC. Understand that this is just a temporary cooler, as again we're installing Windows. This is not the actual cooler we're putting on this build. Now that it is installed, we're going to introduce the power supply, the Seasonic Prime 1000 watt Platinum fully modular power supply unit from, again, Seasonic. Alright, now that everything is working on the motherboard, we shall now begin to install Windows to the system. Now some of you may be asking, Hybrid, how much did this build cost, or what was the budget of your client? Given that we are in the Philippines and the lack of access to certain parts of PCs, this costed us about $2,600 US. Now, you understand that this build can be bought for much cheaper if you are living within the US and other places that are closer to retail stores that sell at a lower price. So don't be discouraged about buying PC parts or custom building your own PC at home, because you have better access than I do when it comes to PC parts. We can see that Windows is installing, and it is obvious that the CPU and the motherboard BIOS are compatible. We are just waiting for the Windows to complete installation, and then we will take the current build apart so we may continue in installing and preparing the actual cooler for this build. Introducing the DeepCool Castle 360 RGB V2 AIO cooling kit. I think this would also be a good time to introduce the chassis fans for the case. DeepCool RF120FS 3 kit plus 1 fan. Here we also have the radiator fans. Do not know the exact brand, but from the logo I can assume they are Gamer Storm. Right now we are trying to just set up the radiator, and of course gotta look at the manual just to make sure that all the pieces that we have in the kit are, number one, present, and then we will then continue and proceed with making the AIO fit onto the motherboard. Some of this may be a little confusing for some, but we're on our way to finishing this build. Currently removing the thermal paste on the cold plate so we may apply the DeepCool Z10 leader. But before all of that, we're going to put everything aside so we can introduce the PC case, the Lian LANCOOL 2 Mesh C. As you can see, it already comes with its own 140mm fans and a 120mm in the back. Just taking a look at all the cables and making sure that we have room for everything that we're installing. This case is dual tempered glass with a mesh front. Now removing the SSD 2.5 slots for the 120mm fans that we have for the under bottom of the graphics card. As you can see, the motherboard fits right in. Plotting this build, I wanted everything to be RGB. But of course, not all plans come together. There are some fans that were not available, and so I had to resort to the DeepCool RF120FS static colored fans. Now that being said, you will be surprised the end product after this build and how well these static fans complement the RGB effects in this PC. And on another note, I did not think of using 4 fans for this build. I only assumed that this case would cater 3 chassis fans other than the radiator. So it's kind of good that I had an extra RF120FS for this surprising look later at the end. For the exhaust fan, we're sticking with the Lian stock fan that came with the case. We're now preparing the power supply for all that we need for this PC. I guess that's the convenient part of having a fully modular power supply. It eases up the space that you need or require while building the PC. Now, one thing I might have forgotten to add is that there is a third drive into this PC. There is a 2TB Western Digital Blue HDD sitting in the drive bay at the bottom of that case next to the power supply. Some of us might think, oh, PC building is so difficult, it is so hard. Well, I'm gonna give you a word of hope and gonna help you realize that the building part is not so difficult. Installing Windows, not so much the difficult part. What's the most difficult thing is cable and wire management. As you can see, I'm already struggling with a couple of wires that seem to be tight fit around this one corner here. But that doesn't stop me for too long. Having plenty of experience with messing with an 8-pin on the CPU. Preparing some zip ties here and twisty ties there. Now preparing the cables to be installed. And as I mentioned before, this is the hard drive, the Western Digital Blue 2TB hard disk for additional files and some games that do not require to be installed into the SSDs or the NVMe drives. Now we're installing the radiator for the CPU. Cable management begins to be difficult at this point. When applying thermal paste, I use the X method both on the CPU and contact plate to ensure the entire surface of both of these are touching each other to optimize cooling and performance. Be careful though, putting too much thermal paste could throttle your system, and instead of cooling it, it would overheat and hamper performance. I am now trying to figure out which header goes which, and of course trying to make sure that the controllers for the fans of the radiator are properly through the case. Like I said, building a PC isn't difficult. It's the wires that you have to manage. It's what makes it hard. But from what we can see, it looks pretty clean. And now all we gotta do is put in the graphics card. Looks like all we gotta do is put in the power cables and finish the back panel by putting these little covers to hide all the mess of the wires, as clean as they are. Can't seem to have that controller sit just right. And success. As clean as the cables already were, putting these little covers on the back will make it look extra clean, extra slick, and even more impressive to those who may want to visit your home and take a gander at this PC. And now we prepare to turn it on. With the power cable in the back, asking my girlfriend to help out with some cables, I prepare the monitor, and you are all in for a treat. All the RGB is firing off, and look at the static fans, like I said earlier, giving off a summer-esque feel. Now, to finish off the PC, we need to put on the front and back panels, which are made of 100% tempered glass. I put on the back panel and I save the plastic peeling there for our client to peel off for themselves. Oh look, you can see the stream mirroring off of the front panel there. To my friend Roland asking me to build him this PC, I just want to thank you again for giving me the honor, giving me the opportunity to build this PC for you and your son. Hope you guys are still enjoying this build, and I hope it's a blessing. For anybody in the Philippines or anybody who wants to build a PC with me, feel free to contact me in my socials in the description. And don't forget to hit subscribe for more awesome videos come along your way. And don't forget to visit our Twitch every Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday at 7 p.m. Again, that's 7 a.m. on the eastern coast of the US. And for those living in the UK, that would be 12 noon. Thanks for watching this video. Now, for the video montage.